This lesson is about substitution and using the rules for BIDMAS with integers. English and Greek letters can be used to represent numbers in maths. Such a letter is called a pronumeral. Substitution occurs when we replace a pronumeral with a numerical value in an expression. When expressions have numbers and pronumerals, the multiply sign is not used. Why? Because it can be mistaken for the letter X. It's called invisible multiply. So when we see 3A, it actually means 3 multiplied by A. If we see a B, a bracket, a 2 minus A, it means B is multiplying the bracket 2 minus A. Let's have a look at some examples. So in example 1, we're going to look what A minus 3B will be if we're told that A is equal to -2 and B is equal to -4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace where the letter A occurs with a -2, and I'm going to replace where B occurs with -4. Now I do need to remember that between the 3 and the B is an invisible multiplier, so I'm just going to write that in. Right, let's see how this substitution works. So I pick up the -2 and put it where the A was. The -3 and the multiplier is still there. Then I pick up the -4 and put it where the B was. Now I have to follow the rules of BIDMAS. You can see that I have to do the multiply first. I can't do this subtract, so I do this part first, and I put a circle around it. Before I work that out, I'm going to put the other bits that I haven't done, the -2 and the minus. Now 3 times -4, a positive times a negative is a negative, and 3 times 4 is 12. Now I have two signs together which are the same, and I can replace them with a single plus. So I end up with -2 plus 12. This is going to take us past 0 and end us up at 10. In my second example, I have A plus B being divided by -5. I have to do that numerator first. So again, I'm going to take the A, and where it occurs, I'm going to replace it with a -7. And where the B occurs, I'm going to replace it with a +2. So let's show that. This is called the substitution part. So A is now -7 plus B is 2. And it's being divided by -5. Now I'll do the bracket first in the numerator, and I have -7 plus 2. I'm not going to get past 0, so I'm going to get closer to 0. So -7 plus 2 is -5. And so I end up with -5 divided by -5. Now a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 5 goes into 5 once, so it's +1. In example 3, I have a squared minus x cubed. What will it come out to be given that a is 2 and x is -3? So again, where the a occurs, I'm going to put a 2, and where the x occurs, I'm going to put a -3. Now because the a is being raised to an index or a power, and so is the x, I need to make sure that I put my a value in a set of brackets just in case. I don't want to muck up the answer. And x is -3, I'm going to put that in a set of brackets because it's the whole value of x that's being cubed. Now following BIDMAS, I have to do the indices. So remember what the powers mean here. So the square means I take that number 2 and I put it twice and I put a multiply in between. And the minus sign I'm going to do later. And the 3 means I take this -3 and I write it 3 times with a multiplier in between each time. And now I'm going to do those multipliers. I can't do this subtract yet, it comes last. So I've got to do this first. And so 2 times 2 is 4. The minus sign goes into our answer. And I'm going to be careful here with these because I'm going to do a pair at a time. Remember, for that's the rules. So a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 3 is 9. So that's part of the way there. And a 9 times a 3 will give me 27, but a positive times a negative gives me a negative. So negative 27. Now, two signs together can be replaced with a single sign, and if they're the same, we replace them with a plus. So I end up having to work out 4 plus 27, which is 31. For my last example, I have 3a multiplying a bracket a minus b. Again, I'm going to lift the a, which is minus 2, and replace the minus 2 both here and here. And I'm going to replace the b with negative 4. Before I do that, just remember there's a couple of things here. The 3 is multiplying the a here. So I'm going to write that 3 in and the multiply symbol. Then I'm going to take my a, which is negative 2, and put it there. And don't forget that a is multiplying the bracket as well, so I'll put that multiply in. Put my bracket in, and then I've got a inside the bracket as well, so negative 2 minus, and b is negative 4. Alright, so I've got to do the bracket first according to BIDMAS, but before I do that, there's two signs together, and they're the same sign, so they replace with a single plus. So this whole bracket is going to be minus 2 plus 4, which is 2. Alright, so now I've just got a string of multipliers, and I work them out left to right. I'm going to do this one first, and then I'm going to multiply by 2. So 3 times negative 2, a positive times a negative is a negative, and 3 2s is 6. So I'm left with negative 6 times 2. A negative times a positive is a negative, and 6 times 2 is 12. So the answer is negative 12.